We had the perfect. All right. Well, we'll run it back. We'll run it back.
Yeah, that was perfect. Oh, okay. It looks like we're here. Everybody, welcome back to Corsace Closed 2023. Here we have our qualifiers results, our round of 16 map pool, as well as our matchups screen. And I am Miles. Joining me here is Tykani. How are you doing, Tykani?
I am doing quite well, Miles. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Yes, so we've been having a few technical difficulties here on our end. We apologize for the delay on this stream, and we're still dealing with a few of these technical difficulties, trying to make sure everything is looking great for you all. So, gonna have to bear with us. We apologize for these, but in the meantime, let's talk, Tykani. How are you doing?
I'm chilling. I've had a quite the day of casts, as I'm sure you're aware. You and I did a 4.5 hour cast earlier, so
Yeah.
it's been a long one.
Yeah, it's been a long day of casting. It's not done yet. We've still got a long Corsair stream ahead of us. But yeah, these results, these qualifier results, there were some crazy scores in this qualifier, some nasty FCs on some of these maps.
Absolutely, very exciting. So excited to show it off. We are just waiting on updates on the stats and I believe some map videos before we get into it here. Just waiting for the go ahead on that. For now, though, let's stall a little bit. Let's make some conversation. Miles, how was your Friday night?
My Friday night, my Friday night was great. After a long day of not going to my classes and a long day of not doing my assignments, I went to my friend's apartment and I worked on Corsair stuff all night instead of going to the party at his apartment. I just went into his room, went onto his computer, logged onto my Discord, and I did Corsair map pooling for 5 hours.
Hell yeah, that's what we love to hear.
Yup,
Dedicated to
we're
the craft.
dedicated to the grind always. Can't stop, won't stop. 100%. How was yours, Tykani? What's your day? What else did you cast after 5WC?
I cast it. So there was 5WC, then there was KFC. I was supposed to cast Battle of the Box as well, but 5WC ran in with that and went over that. So that didn't happen. And then I took a nice hike out. It's a warm day.
Yeah, it's a warm day out on my side of the country too. It was like 55 degrees and sunny, so you had that cool breeze on your head, but the sun was still beating down on you, so it was like the perfect balance of like hot and cold whenever you stepped in the sun.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. No, for me, it's like it's been fairly cold breezes until today, where it's like literally the perfect weather. It felt like I was just like standing in my room, but with like the niceness of outside, hearing the birds and stuff.
Yeah, like I always love that weather.
All
All
right.
right. It looks like they've got it ready for us soon. We're going to be getting into the actual stream just very shortly. Maybe in a couple of minutes, it's all going to be done. Just getting some renders finished.
Yeah, as it is, we had those little timer delays. I think kind of speaks for themselves, right? And like we're trying to fix everything as fast as we can.
Mm-hmm. But, we got to do what you got to do. We've pretty much ironed out most of it, just making sure everything is all good. So we've got another minute to kill, Tykani. Wanna turn on our cams and play rock paper scissors?
No,
Well,
rejected.
come on, man.
I don't want to put Cabo in a state where he has to stream our cams.
Oh yeah, true. That technology is forbidden right now. Forbidden until we make this a full circle episode.
So real.
Full circle episode. Put Miles and Tykani in a cage and make us talk for 40 minutes. See what
Oh
happens.
gosh. It's like a physical. It's like at COE.
Mm-hmm.
Just a cage with the two of us in it, making small talk.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the music stopped. I think that means we're actually about to get on into the qualifier results here.
I think
At
so.
long
Just
last.
maybe.
And here we have Nomad 1. So we're going from left to right here. We've got the top scores on the bottom right. So obviously the number one score on this map is going to be Emrek with 840k, who actually outscored Kriller by 320k. So that is a massive margin of victory for Emrek on that No Mod 1. And then apart from that, I think Kriller at number 2, not something you would typically expect. But then Zudi at 3, MCY at 4, MCY4 at 4. Karcher 5, Akolibet 6, Malashevsky 7, Suwagi 8. All very strong aim players who played well on the No Mod 1, I think.
Yeah, let's move on to the second half of the No Mod 1 results. I have to point out, by the way, Emrek gapped everybody by 300k minimum, which is absolutely absurd. I believe it was a 1 miss on the qualifiers No Mod 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such a dominating performance for Emrek on that map. Being arguably the best aim player the game has ever seen, I think it makes a lot of sense for him to be at the top of that No Mod 1. And then surprisingly, I think on the other end, White Cat all the way down at number 9. Also, very, very strong aim player, one of the best we've ever seen, arguably probably number 2 behind Emrek. If you're going to try and make an argument for that, I would make an argument for that. And then I think some of these players could have done a lot better on this map, but it's No Mod 1. It's the RNG map, so you don't really think about it too much when you get a poor score on the No Mod 1. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. This No Mod 1 is pretty straining as well. So it definitely makes sense that players who maybe aren't as comfortable on raw aim like this not going to perform as well. Again, this is an 8-star pool. 300Ks are just the way it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. All right, now let's move on to the No Mod 2. Got Dragon Force Midnight Madness, the 6-minute No Mod 2 that everyone loved. We have White Cat getting the number 1 on this one with a 663k score. And I believe his was also an S rank on that for White Cat. Very good score from him on that. Otherwise, average score on this was probably around the mid to high 400Ks. People did pretty decently on this. Crystal not having the greatest of times, being under 300k on this. But otherwise, everyone else basically holding their own on this one pretty well. Obviously, order goes Crystal, Neneric, Zudi, Taquito, Enri, Suwagi, Kolibed, and Chaconi at number 9.
Yeah, no big surprises to how people scored on this No Mod 2. Let's go back really quick to the rank 1 through 8 panel for this No Mod 2. Didn't get too good at a look at it other than the White Cat top score on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just maybe. But yeah, the 6-minute No Mod 2 was brutal. It tested a lot of players on just not only their ability to hit these streams, but also their stamina in doing so. And I think people getting kind of capped at 400k does make sense when you consider just how long it was.
Mm-hmm. And here we can see the top 8 players on this map, obviously. Number 8, Mustache. Number 7, Karcher. I feel like Karcher is a player you'd expect to perform extremely well on a map like this, so down at 7 might be a little bit of an underperformance from him. But still, 7 is not terrible. Number 6, Emrek, Demonical, MCY, and then Kriller, Malashevsky, and the Black Dog 5. But yeah, I think this map, it really did a good job emulating itself as more of like a stream map you would typically see in a solo play. Like, it wasn't really just your typical stamina stream map that just threw streams at you and didn't really stop. I thought if we put a map like that in the pool, it would be a little too similar to the DT2. So we ended up going for this, which is a little bit more balance of a pick. But it ended up being so long that a lot of people struggled to get a very high score. Obviously, we didn't get any higher than 663k. Didn't see any FCs on this. But still fairly good.
Yeah, I mean, imagine an FC on this, though, farming in qualifiers.
Imagine. I mean, I think an FC on this is something like 700, right? 700, 800?
Sounds right.
Mm-hmm. All right, now on to No Mod 3. The Spartan awkward aim control alt map, hell, whatever you want to call it. Zudinator getting the top score on this with an unreal 768k, by the way. That is absolutely ridiculous for this map. Followed behind by Rimuru, 100k behind, very closely by Suwagi and Malashevsky. And then there's another 200k drop down to Karcher, Emrek, Crystal, and MCY.
Yeah, this map is absolutely brutal, and that 700k from Zudinator is so mental right there. A score that will absolutely propel her in the stats later. Let's move on to the seats 9 or the ranks 9 and 16 on this No Mod 3. People kind of dip below 400k on this map.
Yeah, this map, I feel like the thing with this map is you just like you miss once and then you just keep missing. All right, now here's the other players on this map. 16th, we got Neneric down to Chaconi, Demonical, Enri, Mustache, Kriller, Black Dog 5, and Taquito coming in at 9th. I think it's fair to see some of the more speed-oriented players get low scores on this map. This map is very, very unconventional, so the less conventional Nomad 3s don't really lend themselves very nicely to the speed players, which is expected, I guess.
Yeah, it is what happens on a map like this. Let's move on now to the No Mod 4, the initial tech pick within the pool.
Yeah, this map we saw some really low scores on. This map was a little bit like really, really hard. We found out eventually. This and then probably another map that you're gonna see very shortly. Um, so obviously, once again, we've got some of the more speed focused players lower down on this map because this map is just like really, really unconventional, and a lot of the aim control on this is very, very hard. So it's understandable. We've got Chaconi 16, Karcher 15, Mustache 14, Nineric 13, Rimuru 12, Demonical 11, White Cat 10, Kriller 9. Surprised to see Kriller down at 9th. He's probably one of the best tech players in the game at this point, but with this map, a lot of the difficulty coming from the bursts, maybe feeling a little bit speed capped, maybe getting really unlucky. Who knows?
Yeah, it just happens sometimes. I mean, especially when you have a one-run qualifiers, sometimes you just kind of get gapped by yourself on something that you're good at. Just how it is sometimes. Looking at this 1 through 8 panel here, you see Emrek dominant performance on this 560k, about 60k above Malashevsky, another 500k before we see a 100k drop down to the third rank MCY4.
And then followed by Crystal, Zudi, Enri, Suwagi, and Taquito, all of whom are very, very strong tech players. So going to be getting some high ratings on the tech pick in the qualifiers, very least. Even if the scores are low, the way we're doing this is based on score rating instead of like the flat score. So they're still going to be rewarded for getting high on the leaderboard for this Nomad 4. Now into the hidden pool. We've got Belief by Deca and John LFJ, the collab. This was our fast aim hidden map. Once again, I think we're going to be seeing some of the speed players down lower until we get really into some of the speedier maps. So we have Demonical 16, then Chaconi, Mustache, Karcher, MCY, Zudi, Kriller, Neneric. I'm surprised to see some players like Zudi down so low on this map.
Yeah, it is a bit of a surprise. I mean, we did talk about, during that No Mod 4, maybe sometimes you have something that you're good at and you kind of gap yourself on it, and these patterns are very hard, very, very awkward all throughout.
I think there's a lot of pattern aim in this map where there's like very specific shapes that you have to aim in this. Like there's a bunch of stars and stuff you have to be really ready for. But I think the average scores on this map are going to be typically higher. You see down all the way at rank 12, you still have above 400k. And then obviously you had some people performing extremely well on this. Like look at Taquito, over 1,000,000 score. Probably an FC.
Yeah, I would believe so with that over 1 mil on a hit, and I think FC is fair to assume right there. Suwagi not terribly far behind, but I mean that's still 100k difference. Taquito looks so good on this hidden one.
Yeah, and most of the people or everyone in the top 8 being above 500k on this map, means I think this was one of the more conventional picks in the pool in that most of the players are going to be fairly comfortable on this type of map, which is obviously why the scores were much, much higher.
For sure. Everyone though, looking fairly good on this map, especially compared to the other map that we have in the hidden pool, which we'll get to in a second. This hidden one just it oozes confidence in comparison to what we have elsewhere,
Mhm.
especially with the No Mod 4 and this hidden 2.
Oh, this hidden too. There was a little bit of a mess up on our part where we kind of didn't gauge the difficulty on this very, very properly. We apologize for that. But these scores pretty much reflect what this map is. This map just had the most absolutely mind-boggling aim control I think you've ever seen in a map, and it was AR 7.5 as well. I think it probably would have been a little bit more fair if we had bumped it up to AR 8 or 8.3, but we didn't have a contact with Depi Force. So someone just like forgot to ask and we ended up just throwing it out and we ended up with a very, very unbalanced hidden two that was just a little bit too hard for this round. Like probably could have fit in like grands if we wanted to, but definitely not a qualifier is hidden to. As we can see with the struggles, the bottom 8 players getting under 100k mostly. The top score was 257k from Henry, and everyone else kind of just ate it.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I mean, Hidden 2, bit more of a niche skill set than a lot of these players. A lot of players that get invited to Corsace Closed are just mechanics players usually, and so often you see on maps like Hidden 2s that we don't really see that same level of performance that we might see on like No Mod 1s, Hidden 1s, speed picks, stuff like that. That's just how that happens, along with just the difficulty of this map in general. Everyone finding really, really low scores. I mean, Henry, 250k, the top score is still the quarter of the theoretical max score for this map.
Yeah, it's a little bit unreal. I thought the scores on this would be a little higher, even though it was kind of consensus way too hard. But still, the map is really cool. I think it would be good just maybe in grands instead of qualifiers, to be honest.
For sure.
All right, now looks like we're about to go into the hard rock pool. Don't know why I decided to say that in a rhythm, but
Harakpu.
hard rock pool,
Harakpu.
hard rock pool, hard rock pool. Koto Dama refrain. Map by Ducky, Neko Mimi difficulty. Yeah, this one is like kind of mechanics tech is what I like to call it. I like to call it mech tech, where you have a lot of slider aim mixed in with a lot of stream aim in one tech pick because a lot of people like to differentiate between slider tech and stream tech, and this is kind of like the mixture between it. And scores on this were pretty fairly low, probably pretty average for what most people got in these qualifiers. And for the rankings, we've got Mustache 16, then up is Ninarek, Taquito, Karcher, Crystal, Enry, Demonical, then Ciccone. Ended up being average around 300k, a little bit less for the bottom 8. But still, like, this map is extremely difficult, so it's understandable. All these maps are extremely difficult, so there's going to be zero judgments on any low scores here.
Yeah, it is what happens when you see an 8-star pool. A low score does not equate a bad score for a lot of these maps.
It's
Just the
just
way it
hard.
is.
Yep. I would say we don't make the rules, but we're both technically like map poolers, so we do make the rules. Now onto the
Here we
top half.
have, yeah, the top 8 panel for this Hard Rock one: Rimuru, Zootineater, MCY4, Emrek, Kriller, White Cat, Suwagi, and Malashevsky. Malashevsky at 639k, the only person to break the 600k line on this map.
Yeah, I mean, I think for good reason. Malashevsky, one of the up and coming strongest aim players we might have ever seen, one of the most consistent aim players in the game. It makes sense that a player like him would be the top scorer on this map. Let's say average score for the top half, pretty much around 400k. but you had the whole 8 through 5 in the 300Ks, and then for the top 4, it ranged from 400K to the 639K, so pretty fair, pretty fair.
Yeah, but that's about it for that Mech Tech Hard Rock 1. Kind of see it take form. The tech players doing still a little bit bad. The mechanical players staying on top, but in general, at least better than like Hidden 2. And for some players, no on 4 as well.
This map I think was definitely fair. Definitely fair. A lot more fair than the Hidden 2. I think we're gonna get ready to move on to the next map, the Hard Rock 2. We've got Dazzle Hop mapped by Captain on the Clash AR8 difficulty. Obviously, I think it's funny when you put Hard Rock in the AR8 difficulty, but it's not gonna be the focus here. Let's look at the scores. Average scores on this map were fairly, I'd say average, honestly. Looks pretty similar to the last map. Average score here in the bottom half around 320-ish K or 300K at all. Bottom Kriller going up, you have Enri, Taquito, Nineric, Emrek, Ciccone, White Cat, and then Demonical at ninth. This map was a lot of, I think, pattern aim, where you had a lot of linear patterns that were very difficult to aim, especially when you're going up to CS 7.15, which is what this map was.
Yeah, the precision always has a chance to just cause a little bit of trouble, even for the highest tier of player. So 300K average absolutely makes sense. And let's move to the top 8 panel here, where we're seeing that the top score on this is going to be Malashevsky with 573K. Behind him is Karcher, Crystal, Zudi, MCY4, Rimuru, Tsuwagi, and Mustache.
This map also having a fairly low ceiling. Malashevsky getting the top score with 573K just goes to show just how difficult this type of map is in this map pool. But as you can see, some very strong Hard Rock players getting near the top. You have, behind Malashevsky, you have Karcher, Crystal, and Zudi, all of whom I would put in the upper echelon of Hard Rock precision players in the game, all of whom have had many, many, many strong performances on this type of map. So I don't think it's surprising at all to see those 4 near the top on this pick.
100%. These 4 are definitely what I expected to see at the top of this Hard Rock 2. I think they're the 4 most logical players to put there.
Yeah, if I had to guess, maybe you can put Emrek in there somewhere because he's he's really good at aim, so you could put him in there. But I don't know, 4 very solid Hard Rock players getting in the top is usually what you expect on a map like this. I
For
know.
sure. Now let's move on to the double time one. This one
DT1.
was the high score map.
Yeah, somehow this just ended up being the score or the map everyone did really well on. I didn't really know because I don't know. Everyone is so good at this type of map now. We didn't really expect this to be like a DT1 because we had only 2 DTs. We decided to make this more of an all-around speed / aim DT1 map, like a more of a DT consistency map, I guess. And everyone just did so well on this. Like the rank 9 is Zudinator on this, and she got over 600K. That would be the top score on almost any other map in the pool.
Yeah, this is the one map where everybody got their number 1 in their locals. And we're like, wow, I popped off from this DT1. This is so big for my seed. And then everyone around them did the same thing.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, actually, how everyone got so many good scores on this. I feel like there's only maybe a few DTFCs on the Bancho leaderboard. Not positive exactly, but still, I thought this map would warrant average scores like we've seen on the Hard Rock maps. But people were just really good at this map. Like looking at the top end here, Ciccone locking out an insane FC alongside Malashevsky. And then with Rimuru and Emrek both very close behind at 885K and a million. And then the top half, even 8 through 5, you have 600K scores through 800K scores. That's kind of absurd for how difficult this map really is.
Yeah, 2 FCs on this is nothing to scoff at, really. Ciccone and Malachevsky putting in a lot of work for their seeds here. Or
Mhm.
we've seen Chaconi in the bottom half, I feel, for a lot of these maps, but number one on DT1 is beautiful.
Yeah, and there's not too much speed in this qualifiers pool, so the speed players are kind of left out to dry here. But here's where the speed players really feasted. Well, you had Chaconi at number one. That's really what he needed. Now on to DT2, Operation Evolution. We got stamina all the way at like 240-ish BPM, I think 230 maybe. But yeah, this is one of those maps where I feel like you could really either play it or you couldn't. The people who couldn't really play stamina too much, you see down in the 100Ks, that bottom four. And then you start to see a little more comfortability the higher you go. The jump between White Cat and Taquito, I think, is really a jump between tiers of players on this map. Of the people who like can't really play this type of stamina consistently versus like probably had a good day on it. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. It's such a large jump to Keto nearly 400k, White Cat at 250. You really do see a difference in comfort with those numbers. Like if it was a stream match, it'd be clear as night and day who was the most comfortable on it. Even if numbers wise, it doesn't look like too crazy of a difference.
Mhm. Nineric squad pulling up at the number one here, getting over 170k over Emrek. That's another speed player who feasted on this DT map. Behind Nineric, Emrek, Chaconi, Demonical, Rimuru, Malashevsky, Karcher, and Kriller. I think this map, it was really like there's when it comes to talking about this map, it's really you could really either play it or you can't, and then you could see who had a really good time on it versus had like an okay time on it from right to left for sure.
Yeah, Nineric looking so good on this. I mean, it is the main skill set of Nineric, right? Like the speed is exactly what he's here to do. The speed, stamina, and absolutely deserving of the number one on this map. Emrek
Mhm.
quite far behind in comparison. 180k separates the number one and number two ranked players on this map.
Yeah, Nineric really went crazy on everyone else on this map. No one coming close to him. So much score between him and everyone else. You see his number one score with the 1.000 rating, and then Emrek, who's behind him, has maybe like 0.7 rating, which means Nineric getting like zero point 0.3 more rating on this single map, which is pretty insane for a 1 to 2 gap. All right, now I think that's gonna do it for our single map statistics. I think now we are about to pivot over into our overall statistics. So everyone put in chat who you think got number one. We're gonna be going down from 16 all the way down to the number one spot. At rank 16, we have Mustache, closely followed by Crystal, then Neneric, then Karcher. Karcher down at 13, something I don't think many people very much expected. It's gonna be a scary first round matchup for someone. Well, I mean, these are some of the best tourney players in the game. They are all gonna be crazy matchups for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's no counting anybody out. Even if you're Monster you seed 16, you can be confident that hey, I've still got a good bracket ahead of me because you know what? I'm Mustache. And
Yeah, you're just
I'm better than seed 16 implies.
I'm Walter White, and Walter White never lost a fight in Breaking Bad.
That's so real.
It's so real. All right. Now let's get on into the next four.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, C12 Demonical, Seed 11 MCY4, Seed 10 Chicone, and Seed 9 Zudinator.
I think some more a little bit unexpected rankings here. MCY has been one of the hottest tourney players so far this year, all the way down at number 11. I feel like a lot of people might have expected him to be a little bit higher here, but still, number 11 means you're just going to be getting some middle seeds as your opponents, as you can see. I think the 8th seed might be facing the 12th seed. Is that how it works? I don't remember.
Um, no, 8th seed fights ninth seed.
Oh, yeah. I can brain. Okay. Another player here. I think Zudinator this low. I mean, Zudi got rank 1 in the qualifiers last year. albeit I think this qualifiers pool is a lot harder than last year. I mean, this tournament is going to definitely be a lot harder than last year, where the star ratings are going to get really high. It definitely favors some of the higher skill cap players, some of the highest skill cap players in the game here, going to be really benefiting from it. And I think you're probably going to see that as you come up, knowing who's not been selected so far.
Yeah, it is. If you're one of these lower seeded players too, now you know your seed and you're just like anxiously waiting to see who your matchup is going to be if you pay attention to how seeding works. And it's a little bit terrifying as we get into this next little graphic here. We have seed 8 Taquito, seed 7 Henry, seed 6 Kriller, and seed 5 Black Dog 5.
I can't believe you actually said it like that. Okay. Seed 5, Black Dog
Look, you told
5.
me to say it like that. What can I say?
I did. Okay, now we've got some interesting ones here. So Taquito plays Henry. So for the first time ever, we're going to be able to be proved that Taquito and Henry are not the same player because they're going to have to face each other. Or wait, was it 8 and 9? Am I
8 and
skipping
9.
again?
8 and 9.
I'm I'm sorry guys. Okay. So Taquito and Henry getting right next to each other, we have not yet proven that they are different players. However, we also have Kriller and Black Dog 5 right next to each other, which means I don't know what that means, but yeah. Some of these guys have been some of the highest skill cap top players in the game for a while now. Henry busting into the scene late last year, coming in at number 7 here, I think not very surprising. And then Kriller, of course, being one of the heroic carries in Corsace Open last year and OWC last year, in basically every big open tournament last year as well. Definitely all of these players are ones that you have to look out for to be in contention for some of the top spots in this tournament.
For sure. By the way, can I say about seed 8 versus seed 9? There are 2 NA players invited to this tournament, and they are facing off in the first round. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, it's Taquito and Zudinator. That is so unfortunate. NA is gonna have to lose a soldier pretty early to losers bracket. Oh yeah, by the way, if you didn't know, there are only 2 North American players in this whole tournament. Something that's pretty atypical considering you usually see a lot of Americans in the upper echelon of tournament players, but as of late, kind of been falling off. We have Taquito as the only American here, and Zudinator as the only Canadian here. And I don't believe we
Yeah,
have a single South American player in this iteration.
there has been a huge sort of takeover of Asian players, especially within Hong Kong, right? In the past sort of year, where the Hong Kong players have really started showing up, the Korean players have really started showing up. And so what we've seen is we've kind of seen a bunch of NA players disappear to the Asian players.
Yeah. And I mean, for our commentating schedules, it's not a very good thing. When it comes to hype, I think they are all very insane players, and I'm happy to see them succeed in the tourney scene. Now, I'm
All
pretty
right.
sure. Let's go on to the top 4. These are the 4 players you have to look out for the most here. At number 4, you've got Suwagi, and then you've got Rimuru, and then you've got Emrek at number 2, and then at number 1, who could have guessed it? It was Malashevsky.
By the way, look at the insane difference in the ratings between the top 3. Malashevsky 8.1, Emrek 7.3, Rimuru 6.4. There's such a large gap in how these players played qualifiers, how they got their results. They, seed 1, 2, and 3 weren't even a contest almost.
Yeah, I mean, Malashevsky is just like, I'm pretty sure we've all said so much about Malashevsky. He's like one of the most talented players we've seen in years. He's just unreal at skill cap, unreal at being consistent. Feels like a lot of the time that he just doesn't miss. And he did the same thing in this qualifier. He outplayed everyone by a lot. And if Emrek had gotten 1 point lower, it would have been over 2 points almost between him and the next opponent. And that is just unreal. And also, there's going to be a little bit of Polish RDM in the matchups now. If you remember, Mustache at 16, Malashevsky at 1. Polish matchup.
Yeah, and if you think about it, Malashevsky didn't even reach grand finals last year, but here he is now seed 1, nearly uncontested in that rating as well. So a little scary. His improvement throughout the past year has been absolutely insane. That he's gone from going out in loser side finals to looking at, a grand finals victory here, looking at a seed 1.
I think a lot of people maybe wouldn't have expected Suwagi to be in rank 4, but Suwagi's been making a comeback recently, and he played he's been playing absolutely insane in these last few months. And I'm really excited to see how Suwagi plays here, as well as Rimuru. We don't really see Rimuru play too many tournaments. I think the last time I saw him was in YSC last year. But I think a tournament that involves this much skill cap is really going to benefit Rimuru, and that's why he got seeded 3. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to say about these top 4. We are about to move on into the matchups. Let's see what that entails.
All right, these matchups are in sort of top seed order. So we're going to start with the matchup that seed 1 will be facing, and then go down the list from there, 2, 3, 4, etc., until we reach seed 8 versus seed 9, which is the last matchup in our list here.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do switch to the matchup screen, we will have little stats for every player updated through these qualifiers.
And here we have our first matchup here. We've got the Polish matchup, Malashevsky versus Mustache. I'd like to call this the father versus the son, based on these players' ages, but I will not say anything more about that. Obviously, Malashevsky being arguably one of the best tourney players of all time, it's going to be an uphill battle for Mustache here on a pool as difficult as this one against Malashevsky. But I mean, Mustache is a really good tournament player, so he definitely has a shot to win some maps if he can perform very well on them.
For sure, the Malashevsky matchup is really scary, especially this early, but it doesn't quite count Mustache out. You see, especially that precision rating really high, something he can maybe catch Malashevsky out on if Malashevsky isn't super careful. Malashevsky's stats from last year haven't really improved that much, actually. So, there's a bit of a chance for Mustache to prove himself. Obviously, this qualifiers pool is very hard and not representative of what the round of 16 pool is going to be difficulty-wise. So we could see that, as weird as it is to say that 7.6 stars is getting low SR, we could see that happen with Malashevsky here, where Mustache kind of takes it out on the lower difficulty maps.
Yeah, and the pool for round of 16 is a lot more open than the qualifiers pool. In qualifiers, you only have 4 no mods and then 2 of every modded map. So there's going to be a lot more for Mustache to choose from against an opponent like Malashevsky, which means he'll probably be able to find his maps that he will want to pick against Malashevsky in order to probably get on the board with some points. But obviously, in this matchup, you're going to have to favor Malashevsky just based on how strong he is, how absolutely absurd of a tournament player he is, and how much of a cheat code this guy is. He sometimes just doesn't miss. It's unreal.
All right, let's move on into the next matchup here. Potentially.
Maybe.
Well, while we wait for that matchup to pop up here, there we go. All right, perfect.
Woo!
Don't even have to do anything to stall. Emrek versus Crystal. Crystal, a newly invited player to Corsace Closed. Emrek returning and actually down on every one of the stats from the qualifier results.
The thing I feel with MREC is, you never know how much MREC is really gonna try for a lot of these tournaments. Obviously, kind of a wild card a lot of the time. You see him in tournaments, he'll either be a top performer or LGB just but you can usually count him in just based off of his raw talent. Obviously, the best solo player Osu has ever seen in the game. Up against a player like Crystal, who's been a tournament veteran, playing tourneys for a very, very long time, made a name for himself to be a very, very strong tournament player. But I haven't really seen too much of Crystal when you get to star ratings this high. I mean, this pool is going to be a little bit easier than the qualifiers pool. So I would not count Crystal out, even if on paper Emrek should look a ton better than Crystal. I think Crystal will definitely have his picks in order to get on the board in this map pool, based on the fact that I don't think Crystal is going to be really skill capped on his skill sets here, as you can see. very strong tech players. Crystal, very strong precision player. Hard rock in general, very strong mod for him. I think Emrek is going to try to abuse speed against Crystal because Emrek is one of the best speed players in the game. And Crystal, if you look at the stats, the stamina, the speed, not really his skill sets. But I think this matchup should be interesting based on the fact of their skill sets being very different. I think Crystal definitely has his picks in order to take points off of Emrek.
Yeah, Crystal, we haven't really seen much of in 1v1. We can't really be too sure about how he'll perform, but I am very positive that we'll see a lot from him here. Emrek first matchup is a little tough, but if Crystal performs like he does in OWC, I have no doubt that it'll still be very exciting.
Yeah, one of the strongest Chinese tourney players coming out here. I think since Rust Bell been the driver of the reemergence of China into the global tourney scene. Obviously now China being feared across all rank ranges almost. So definitely a very scary player is Crystal, and I'm very excited to look at this matchup more in depth when match time comes around. Now let's move on to our third matchup here.
Just a second. It does take a second to load them, I do believe, but all right, there we go. It is going to be Rimuru versus Nineric.
Oh, it's a speed player battle.
Two brand new invitees to Corsace Closed as well. Haven't really seen them in this sort of format before. We've seen Nineric in 1v1 just playing speed, but not really in the sense of something this high stakes, this high SR. But it's very, very, very clear what Nineric is good at, what he's going to be going for against Rimuru here.
Yeah, I mean you've got one of the strongest specialist speed players in the game. You can count on him on basically anything involving speed. Meanwhile, Rimuru on the other side, you never really know exactly what he's going to pick against you. I remember in YSC he was known for being a wild card where I think he played something like 3 or 4 tiebreakers in a row, and it was absolutely like kind of absurd watching his matches because like he would just like battle on everything. You would count him out. He would bring you to tiebreaker, and then he would win the tiebreaker. And he ended up getting, I think, top 3 in that tournament. So definitely, I think in terms of well-roundedness, this matchup should favor Rimuru. But I feel like in terms of actual strengths, I feel like some of them do overlap. I feel like Rimuru and Nineric are both like very speed-focused players. I think Rimuru might want to pick aim a little bit more, and I think Nineric might want to pick maybe some hiddens or some hard rocks a little bit more. I know Nineric can play some hidden 3 flow tech types of maps a lot sometimes. But I think this is also going to be an interesting matchup just because of how similar these players' strengths are.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's a clear factor on like who's gonna win. A lot of these like Rimuru is more favored on skill cap stuff, but that's where this lower SR pool is gonna come into play, right? For the 7.6, Nineric might perform just a little bit better on, especially on the speed, where I really don't see him breaking on anything.
Oh yeah, I'd like to clarify it was a Nyx Cup that Rimuru played well on, not YSC. 2 different tournaments. Both high-end 1v1 tournaments, different tournaments, my bad. Okay, I think we're gonna move on into our next matchup then. Our fourth matchup. We've got Suwagi against Karcher. This, I think, might be one of the matches of the weekend because obviously Karcher, one of the highlight players in the whole Osu tourney scene in the last few months, obviously emerging in OWC as this just monster powerhouse player that you can just count on to be insane at almost any skill set. While Suwagi has been kind of a tournament veteran, been around for a very long time, played a lot of different tournaments under a lot of different usernames, now making a comeback in these last few months, getting Seed 4 here, I think rather unexpectedly. I think if you switched both of these players' seedings, sometimes you might not even bat an eye because of just how insane Karcher is and how unexpectedly good Suwagi is right now. Not as a insult or anything, but like this is just going to be a crazy matchup. I think both these players extremely well rounded, good at many different skill sets. It's going to be, I think, probably Karcher picking speed, Suwagi probably picking reading.
Yeah, this match has the potential to be one of the biggest upsets of the weekend, just in terms of pure seeding numbers. Seed 13 could very easily take it over seed 4 right here.
Just it's just so unreal that Karcher got seed 13. This guy is de-seeding.
He really is. He's trolling. He's actually trolling.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think this is probably the most likely seed upset you can see, but Suwagi, being as good as he is not going to go down without a fight. This being probably the other Titan of Hong Kong with MCY has just been such a strong player in so many different tournaments that you can't count him out. Even if Karcher is Karcher, you can't count out Suwagi because he is an insane player. So definitely a matchup that I would want to look out for over almost any other matchup.
For sure. Now let's move on into this next matchup here. Halfway through this matchup list already. This next one, seed 5 is seed 12. White Cat versus Demonical, or sorry, I should say Black Dog 5 versus Demonical. Here we see
This is
Demonical, a new Corsace Closed player, along with White Cat returning from last year's Corsace Closed.
I think this could be an underrated matchup, I think, because Demonical is a really spooky player in that he's like very, very low key good at so many different skill sets. I think definitely not a hidden player, something that White Cat, if he does his studying, should abuse against Demonical. However, I think when it comes to mechanics, I think these players on a map pool of this star rating should be fairly close in performance. I think White Cat definitely going to pick aim being the White Cat skill set, but on other skill sets like maybe your tech maps, on your faster maps, I think that's what Demonical is probably going to pick. Definitely going to be looking at the DT pool. Probably going to try for a speed abuse against White Cat, but still, White Cat being White Cat, he is one of the strongest tourney players in the game, one of the strongest Osu players we have seen of all time, and definitely a player that you have to look out for no matter what in an Osu tournament.
Yeah, for sure. This is another one with pretty insane upset potential. I mean, obviously, White Cat's still very good, very consistent, but Demonical just one of those scary players that can really catch you off guard if you're not paying attention. Demonical absolutely has the chance to take it over White Cat. We will see it this weekend, though, how that goes. White Cat's still
Definitely.
very, very strong.
You definitely have to stay tuned for a lot of these matchups because right now we're kind of we're trying to compare like the best tournament players in the world here. So it's really hard to predict how a lot of these matches are going to go. You really just have to show up and find out because if you asked me to tell you the scores of all these matches, I wouldn't be able to tell you at all. All right, now we're going to move on into our sixth matchup. Seed 6 versus Seed 11. We've got Kriller versus MCY. Now, I think this might be another crazy matchup. Kriller and MCY, two of the hottest tourney players on the scene right now, both of whom at times looking absolutely unstoppable. Obviously, MCY getting second place in the Roundtable 2 qualifiers, which gave him an invite to the Roundtable LAN in Los Angeles. And Kriller just showing up at some point during last year and just very, very quickly becoming one of the most unstoppable tourney players in the game, good across so many different skill sets. I think he's probably going to be picking a lot of techier skill sets into MCY. Although MCY also very good at those skill sets, he might be picking speed into Kriller, but I'm not really sure because these players I feel like will have a battle for sure.
Yeah, this honestly, in my opinion, this might be the most hotly contested match of the weekend. Kriller versus MCY4, like just seeing that written down scares me. That is going to be a good match no matter what.
Also, Kriller's stamina rating, I guess, going down maybe from the DT2 in this week's qualifier pool. I'm sure he's a lot better at stamina, along with MCY. MCY, a very good DT player, maybe just not having the best time on this DT pool for the qualifiers. He is a new Corsace invite, so not too many stats to go off of for MCY, but those will definitely be grown upon as we go further on into the tournament.
Yeah, the ratings will stabilize over time for these players. So the qualifier ratings are always going to be just a little bit scuffed but after we see them in actual matches, the ratings will stabilize a little bit and be a little more accurate.
Mhm. Alright, now on to our 7th matchup here. Now the seeding is gonna get very, very close here. We've got Enri and Ciccone. This is another crazy matchup. Ciccone making a name for himself in Charlie's Perfect Math class around this time last year, getting I think top 2 in that tournament or even winning it. I don't really
It was
remember.
top two.
Oh yeah, I think Arnold won that, right?
I actually don't remember.
Yeah, well, close enough still. Ciccone made a massive name for himself in that tournament, defeating some of the best tourney players in the game at that point. And then Enri, almost around a similar time, emerging onto the scene as well. Both of these players very much on the up and up. Both new Corsace invites getting their first stats on the sheet here from the qualifier round. And I think you can really see what these players are going to pick into each other based on the stats. I think Ciccone definitely going to try and pick speed into Enri, despite Enri being a very good speed player himself. Enri, I think, probably going to be going for some more gimmickier picks against Ciccone, something he probably has the advantage on. Looking at some of these reading stats here, 7.81 to 2.84, you probably know what Ciccone might ban out against Enri.
Yeah, Enri was one of those people that was like not even in the discussion during last Corsace Closed, and then after Corsace Open, he was the most obvious invite possible for this Corsace Closed. Enri, I mean, such a huge player again, as you said, on the up and up. Same with Ciccone. We've seen these players pop off so huge in the past year, and it's really worked out for them. Glad to see them both invited to Corsair's Close and fighting each other this early on. I'm sure is a little bit scary for both of these players, but I imagine it'll be a good match nonetheless.
Definitely not a matchup where you can define a winner right now. This is one of those where we're going to see who has the better day, and that's who we're going to think wins this match. So obviously, these players probably going to want to practice up on this pool very hard because definitely a winnable match for both of these guys. All right, now on to our 8 versus 9 matchup.
And we've talked about this one a little bit already, but this is going to be the matchup of Taquito versus Zudinator. If I remember correctly, this was also a round of 16 matchup last year, except the only difference was that it was seed 1 versus seed 16. What the hell happened here?
Oh well, they just averaged out, like they just like took that they didn't divide by 2 actually, because it's like the same average except now they're in the middle, 8 and 9. Obviously, these players have matched up so many different times before in so many different 1v1 tournaments. Obviously, 2 of the best hidden 1v1 players in the game. You've seen both of them win many matches off of just their hidden performances alone. But I think they kind of take a different route through their skill sets because they aren't just hidden players. They're pretty well rounded, like some top 30 players in the game, they tend to be pretty well rounded. I think Taquito will probably lean more into speed against Zudinator, while Zudi probably leans more into aim as one of the best aim tourney players in the game. Extremely consistent on that. Taquito probably going to want to ban that out. And then usually what determines who wins this matchup, I think, is probably going to be the reading because I would say neither of these 2 players are reading specialists, but they're both good reading players. And at one point in this matchup, one of them is going to have to pick it into the other. And it's really going to depend on who wins. I think those picks, like that Nomad 6, that hidden 2, probably will make the difference in this matchup just because of how I think closely these players match. And I'm just so ready to watch this match again. It's a classic matchup at this point, honestly.
For sure. These two are no strangers to playing against each other. We've seen them go to tiebreakers more than enough times already. This matchup is really anyone's game. It can be just how they're feeling on the very given day that they play. Zudi versus Taquito has a chance to be very hotly contested.
I hope it is because I like both of these players. They're both very, very good, and I really want to. I hate that it's North American RDM as the only 2 North American players in the tournament, but it has to happen, and it's a good matchup, so it's a fair price, I guess. All right, now on to nothing. That's it. There's no more matchups. We got through all of them. So we're
That
going to be
we
getting
did.
into the showcase now for the round of 16 map pool. So this map pool is going to be balanced around being 7.6 stars. So we're dropping about 0.4 in star rating since the qualifier pool. So it's still very high star rating. I'm not going to pretend like 7.6 is low. But this is going to be a little bit easier than last pool. But first, we are going to be showing you something. All right, now we're going to be getting into the No Mod 1 here for the round of 16 pool. We've got a custom map by Melon Boy. We've got Paraoka featuring Harunya. We've got Tyranny. Replay by Rudge. Melon Boy making another classic of a No Mod 1 here. We saw his one from OWC and we were like, we want this guy to map here too. And he made one of the No Mod 1s of all time, honestly. This map is really awesome. In terms of skill sets,
one we had to bully and Melon Boy to get this done, but I'm very glad that we do have it. This is an insanely good aim map.
Yeah, lots of different patterns in this map that you can get tripped up on, but it's not just a one-dimensional aim map. It's a lot of different types of aim as well. You've got a lot of large angle jumps. You've got a lot of different types of jumps. Very excited to see people play this.
For sure. This one focused a little bit on not just being super comfortable aim. We tried to keep it raw aim all around. Kind of kill off the No Mod 1 meta here.
Yeah, some map stats. This is 7.53 stars, 4 minutes and 7 seconds, 207 BPM, CS4, AR 9.8, OD 9.2. So fairly comfortable map stats for this. None of them should be tripping up any of our players.
By the way, I will say, when I first saw this map, this looked kind of easy, but every time I play it, I feel the strain in my hand. This is no easy map to go through. This is not your free FC No Mod 1 here. Even our replay has one miss on it. Can't blame Roach there. Map is far from easy.
Yeah, but it's definitely cool. I think it'll probably be one of the more popular picks this week because the map is just awesome. People like playing good maps, I think.
For sure. I mean, we did kind of seek Melon Boy out to this one. This was like, this was the one where we were looking at a round of 16 No Mod 1 and we were going, okay, well, I think there's literally only one mapper that can fill this slot. Got Melon Boy to make this.
And the Paraoka economy is booming right now. Silver is no longer alone in that economy.
This song is so good.
It really is.
And I guess this is also the first custom that we've showcased, given that qualifiers had no custom.
That's true.
Starting with round of 16, we do have a ton. We have a lot of unique new mappers this year. A lot of them will be seeing throughout this round of 16 showcase.
Yeah, the pool starts to get bigger now. I believe we've got 6 no mods and then 3 of every single other mod. No free mod pool and then a tiebreaker.
Really, the hope is that this is just enjoyable to play, honestly. I had so much fun trying this out when Bell and Boy finished this map. I hope others do as well. Now that it is out and uploaded, round of 16, no mod 1 over, and a banger at that.
That's going to be it for the no mod 1. Gotta head on into our no mod 2. I believe it's another custom map we have here.
That it is. Here we are, no mod 2 Azalea, mapped by Vita 2.
This map, I think the most difficult part of this map is that it features some of these wiggle streams that you see on screen here. Probably gonna be the point of contention on this map. Not too stamina heavy. I think not until the ending. The ending is probably where the stamina becomes the most intense. This map is also not too long in contrast to the Qualifier's No Mod 2, only being, I believe, 4 minutes and 33 seconds compared to 6 minutes is pretty stark. So, finally, a playable length, I guess.
That is true. No 6-minute no mod 2 this time.
Other than that, I'd say it's fairly conventional for what you typically see in a no mod 2. You've got lots of flow streams. Stamina aspect is there, but I think it's not the main point of contention on the map. I think the players here should have no problem streaming this BPM. I think a lot of it is going to be the aim.
Flow aim is definitely going to be the challenge to this map. 195 BPM really shouldn't be a struggle for anyone. Oh, round of 16. Just getting this flow, you see a lot of this flow kind of coming out in these PIs here. A lot of some weirder angles. You see like squares coming out. A couple ones that aren't like the super conventional stream angles.
But yeah, replays done by Lucrece. I want to give a huge shout out to Lucrece because he has already done so many replays for us, and he's only been here for like a week. So definitely already an MVP in the replay channel. Doing some very nice scores for us here. Also, this map was my first time seeing Vita 2 as a mapper doing a custom map, and I think this turned out pretty okay. Oh, we've got the fix here, round of 16 Mappool showcase.
Yeah, I believe this is also the first Vita custom that I have seen. I can't think of anything else that was custom. I've seen a couple ranked Vita 2 maps, but nothing that was custom.
This is my first time seeing this mapper in general. I haven't seen him before mapping for Corsace Closed. Map's going to be 7.25 star rating, so a little bit on the lower end for this map pool.
Yeah, this one is actually we had it a little bit easier before, kind of bringing it up to get to scale the rest of the pool. Also did a good job. You know, again, it's the flow aim difficulty is certainly present, and you're seeing these little weird patterns with the doubles about 3/4 through the map.
And you can see these streams here near the ending are absolutely brutal. They just layer onto each other, so you kind of have to be careful about note locking. Well, the OD is 9.2, so you shouldn't be too much in danger for a note lock, but it definitely can happen if you're not tapping correctly, so be careful for that.
But that is going to be it for the No Mod 2. Thank you, Vita 2, once again for the custom map.
All right, now on to Nomad 3, a map that you should all probably recognize. Nomad 1.
Let's go!
And it was so good that we decided to make it twice. Nomad
That's so
3.
real. By the way, we're lying.
Yeah, we're lying. This is not Nomad 3. Nomad 3 is Human. A OWC 2020 Grand Finals custom by Half Slash Yastra, right?
That sounds right. And there we go. The real map this time.
So yeah, this map is a lot of awkward aim in the alt. I think a lot of people tend to call this Corsace alt because a lot of the Corsace mappers map alt like this. I mean, I can't say it's a bad way to represent it. Yeah, this map definitely on the more awkward side of what you would typically see in an alt pick. Definitely more awkward than a lot of the alt picks we have further down the line, which tend to be a little bit more flow aim intensive. While this one is heavily focused on your cursor control. Another replay from Lucrece, getting 876k on this, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, this map is so hard. It's just 2 minutes long, by the way. You don't really have much room to make mistakes and just like hope the other person breaks. You basically just have to go all the way, the full distance in the 2 minutes that you have. You have to pray that you FC this map.
Because of how much cursor control there is in here, it's definitely a lot harder to be consistent on, I think, than a more flow aim based alt map. But you know, Arnomod 2 is already very flow aim based, so I think having something very cursor control heavy in Arnomod 3 is fine. Also, Lucrece told me he shakes a lot at the end here, so I'm gonna see if he was right or wrong about that. Alright, let's look at his cursor, guys.
Yeah, you're starting to see those shakes compound each other a little bit.
Oh my god.
That's where the misses come from?
Hey, my man.
A little bone slider at the end. Just in case you have a dog watching.
Yeah,
if you have a dog 5.
Yeah, if you have a Black Dog 5 watching, you can go bite your screen. Okay, we've got Nomad 4! Plus to Cloud9, Polisha, not by Loki Doki. No, this is o2techmap.com. Another Lucrece replay. Loki Doki custom. Haven't seen Loki Doki do a custom map before this one. Map had to go through the works a little bit. We had to buff it quite a bit. Still very low star rating compared to what you see in the rest of the pool, but tech is very hard to do in high star rating, so give him a pass for that.
Yeah.
The cursor control in this,
tech is.
yeah, the aim control in this is kind of unreal. You have a lot of these wiggle screens that you have to be very much on your game for, unless you want to find a miss, which I'm sure a lot of our players don't want to find a miss. But I think even with the buffs, still definitely one of the easier maps in the pool. Heart ETN. Yeah, that's the Romanian pride. Love the Eternum pride. Romanian pride,
Yeah, this map, not too much to say. It's your classic tactic, right? It's your slight cursor control, the fast sliders, sometimes slow sliders. You've got a bunch of cussing, you've got a little wiggle up and down a couple times throughout the map.
And then here you have the chorus where you have these streams that kind of you have to snap back on an earlier point in the stream to get the next pattern you see. Like you're doing a semicircle and then you flick back to another point in the semicircle. That pattern, very difficult to get right, but I think once the players get used to it, they should be able to have a pretty good time on this map.
Yeah, but this is where the map kind of comes to its closing moments. Nothing really hard left. That is it. This custom Nomad 4 made by Loki Doki. Thank you once again to Loki Doki. Now let's move on into the Nomad 5 here.
Got a classic, Rebellio. I'm sure a lot of people here are familiar with this map, another Lucrece replay, but it's about 7.82 stars. It's a combination of an aim map and a speed map. Got a lot of both present in this map, but I think the main point of contention on this map is going to be the fast burst present in this map.
That's what we hope for the Nomad 5, right? The fast burst. This is where your speed players are really going to get to shine. There is the DD3 in this pool, spoiler alert, is not speed. Looking at the speed players, the Snow Mod 5 is going to be so huge. Obviously, round of 16, there's only going to be one ban, I do believe. And so having either No Mod 5 or DP2 open is going to be so big.
Yeah, map is mapped by Real Lazy. I believe it's probably been a few years since this was ranked. It's been used many times in tournaments before, I think lots more on the lower difficulties, but now that the skill cap is as high as it is, we're going to have to be bringing out the top diff of Rebellio in round of 16. That's kind of insane thinking about it in that perspective. And here is the Ki section where the aim becomes one of the main points of contention here. Like, you cannot cheese those bursts. You have to aim those properly.
Yeah, this is no double tap map for sure. The spacing on those bursts, you do have to just not cheese. I almost said you do have to cheese. No, that's the exact opposite of what I want to say.
And then here you have this ending section where the bursts start to become more present once again. But yeah, all in all, very balanced map, I think, between aim and speed. It was a pretty good fit for the No Mod 5 slot.
Yeah, but that is going to be all for that No Mod 5. Let's move on here into the No Mod 6 inside joke. This one, I remember people had a lot of trouble on the rhythm. Is not what you expect at all for this song.
Yeah, we've got another Depi Force map, this time in No Mod 6, not the Hidden 2. We had a few people play this map a lot, and I think it ended up being okay for about this star rating of pool.
Yeah, this one, compound between reading and a little bit of rhythm control.
Very low.
The AR 6.5.
This replay is done by Listia, so thank you, Listia, for some replays as well. Listia did quite a few of the reading maps for us. You also have some of these very long, fast sliders at many different points of the map, mostly during some of the choruses. You see right now, you have to be ready for those. Definitely, probably the least sight read friendly map in this pool.
Yeah, everybody's sight reading this. I remember the playtester lobby just absolutely died on this map.
Yeah, it was at that point we realized this might be a little bit too hard, and then we had Listia play it a few more times, and she was like, yeah, this is probably pretty good. Got a 700k replay on it, which is kind of unreal, actually.
Yeah, nobody in this tournament like a crazy kind of AR 6.5 reading player. We're going to see some fairly low scores on this, I imagine. Though with practice, this map is certainly attainable.
Yeah, we acknowledge that the Uchi 2 in qualifiers was probably a little bit too hard, so this map, I think it's very much a different feel being in No Mod instead of being in the Hidden Pool. There's definitely a lot that you can do on this by practicing it, and I think a lot of players up against the speedier opponents are going to try and pick this, especially because there aren't really too many dominating reading players in this tournament. Like, there's no Ikoro, there's no Tommy, like, there's not really any player that's really going to dominate super hard on reading in this tournament, so I think a lot of players maybe are going to opt to train a map like this in order to probably pick it into their opponents.
That break is evil, by the way, right at the end of the map. Just letting you know if you need to play the outro or not. I believe this is the end of the map. Maybe I'm wrong. Alright, I'm a little wrong.
And then you have this long spinner at the end that's like 15 seconds long. Pretty awesome.
So cool.
I feel like
look at that 400 spin right there. Beautiful.
I feel like it'd be really funny if we got a spin to win on that.
That would be crazy.
All right, now here's the hidden one. Very quick transition to that. Here is another map. I didn't actually know about this map until we pulled this. Carnation Inc. This is map by Hollow Wings. This map is gonna be our fast aim map.
Fast and awkward. There's a bit of flowiness to it too that you'll see in the pattern. You're already seeing it kind of develop a little bit, but it gets pretty intense. This map is so good.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, we were about to pull this in qualifiers. It was originally the HD1 in qualifiers before we changed that. And we decided this map would fit a lot better in a pool with 3 hidden picks. So we ended up moving it to the hidden 1 slot here, so it can contrast well with a hidden 3, I think was the logic behind it.
Yeah, there is perfect stacks in this map, you know, reading check. Nothing too crazy. I don't imagine players really get caught out at this level, but you never know.
Yeah, Listia brought up a very good point in the chat. There are 2 types of players on this map. One that thinks the first half is the free combo, and one that thinks the second half is the free combo. Me personally, the first half is definitely the free combo, but...
What are you talking about? The second half is free combo. Easy.
You... Cap. That's cap. Stop
I'm
the
not,
cap,
I'm
young
not
man.
capping. I'm not capping.
This is cap, Tykani.
It's the truth.
Okay, okay. We'll see when the matches hit this weekend. Another replay on this by Lucrece, who sniped my 460k score that I got in the multiplayer lobby that we did.
And this map has a tendency to just go into these little comm sections that basically mean nothing, that literally are the actual free combo, and then just explode into these giant bursts of, okay, now you actually have to aim.
The second half of this is where the aim really does pick up. I think the first half is a lot more control-oriented, while the second half is a lot more of just that raw aim and a lot of fast sliders as well that you have to contend with. And here's where that's going to start. Aim definitely becomes a lot more of the factor here. And these long sliders.
And you start to see the flowy patterns come out as well. And really, I mean, how is this not free combo?
Yeah, this is definitely not the free combo part of the map. I think this is the difficulty spike.
The sliders do give a lot of this, keep it from going so crazy over the edge, but still definitely very, very difficult.
Yeah, I don't think you really need to aim the entire slider, but you're probably gonna have a little bit of a higher score if you're able to do that and also transition into the preceding patterns. Or in the following patterns, so it's probably gonna be a choice on slider ends versus, you know, being more comfortable and cheesing the combo. But I think a lot of our aim players here are going to be talented enough where they just do it like subconsciously and they aren't going to have to make the conscious decision like us normal players do.
Yeah, that map, again, just so good.
It's awesome.
The world of Hollow Wings made custom maps. But speaking of custom maps, here is our custom and hidden 2, Reiji Maigo. I was in his DM begging to get a custom for Corsace Closed, and this is what we got out of it. Kabuzi Kaze, CS5, AR8 Hidden 2, Reiji Maigo Classic.
Another Listia replay. I think this is definitely the Reiji Maigo type of aim. If you're familiar with Reiji Maigo maps, you know what you're getting in this package. I believe some other esoteric knowledge about this map. It is a Rance BGM, if anyone's familiar with that game series. Seeing the character in the background called the Hanny. I know, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I heard this song and I just like had this feeling. And something was telling me this was Rant, and I don't know why. And I just believed that without ever double checking, and I'm glad to be confirmed right now that that is correct.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I just saw the characters and I was like, yeah, that's Rance.
That's insane.
Yeah,
it's a slapper, by the way.
It is a slapper for a game BGM. I mean, I am an enjoyer of video game BGM, so this is definitely up my wheelhouse.
2 minutes, by the way. Mostly pattern aim oriented. You see those streams come out, they are just a little bit awkward, keep you on your toes. For the most part, if you know a Ragey Mygo map, this is exactly that. Just at 7.6 stars difficulty.
Oh yeah, and you have these back and forths here at the end that are very, very difficult if you're not ready for them. And if you're not comfortable on this AR, you're probably going to have a lot of trouble with those back and forths. But the map stats on this, I think, are pretty forgiving for your AR8 map. It's just AR8 CS5. The players in this tournament have definitely played a lot of this map style before. Having been around the tourney scene for a long time, or a lot of these players have played their fair share of Ragey Mygo maps. You should not be feeling too uncomfortable with this map.
Alright, Hidden 3, another custom map. This one by WeOmi Hexlot here.
This is your hidden flow tech. It contrasts a lot with the Nomad 4 in that this one is definitely a lot more tapping oriented than the Nomad 4, which is a lot more slider aim oriented and a lot more aim control oriented. This is kind of a little bit more mechanically focused. You have a lot of streams that aren't non-factors on this map. And also the fact that it's just higher BPM.
Yeah, this map is pretty consistently difficult with its flow challenges. We had to put in a little work to get this map to exactly how we wanted it, but I think it did turn out quite well in the end. Very much going to challenge the players on their hidden comfort hitting all this flow in.
Like, look at these streams. The spacing on these streams is not extremely consistent, so you definitely have to be on point with your aim control here on these streams. But definitely, I think you can still flow through them, which is the difference between this and Nomad 4. Like, spacing on this is a little bit wacky, but still flowable, so we're going to be looking at the players with very strong flowing to perform well on this map.
For sure, this is AR 9.6, not crazy unreadable with hidden. Almost comfortable in that sense, though the mapping, the patterning makes up for that.
Another Listia replay. Listia getting her time to shine on the hidden picks. Very strong hidden player. Now this is the breakdown section where the sliders and the screens pick back up once more. Although I wouldn't really call it a dip spike, this map is very consistent. I wouldn't call this part much harder than the beginning, but it's also not easier. That's what it means to be consistent. Cited that definition.
That's crazy. Those 1/3 kick sliders are so tricky, by the way. I've definitely seen my fair share of people like just trying to hit those and just randomly breaking. Have to be so ready for them. Probably gonna end up dropping slider ends for a lot of players.
A lot of our test players found breaks on those in the lobby. Now we're going to HR1. We have Kododama refrain.
Something went wrong here.
Yep, something went wrong here. Yeah, what we actually have is a custom by Mamilia, Pure Scary by Morimori Atsushi.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, I believe. Okay, there we go. Actually loading into the real map. Get trolled. No Kododama refrain.
Said you have Pure Scary. This map, I don't know if this is as scary as Kododama refrain. I mean, it's definitely easier. This pool is balanced to be easier than that. But still, this map is definitely what I would like to call mech tech, in that it's kind of like the evolution of Suki Nathan's map of Dynamite. And some people will call me crazy for making that evaluation, but as the first thing I see when I see a map like this, except this one has a lot more streams, and it is very much higher star rating, up at 7.68 stars. Lots of difficult streams and jumps in this map, if you can end with. Lots of kick slider aim as well, which is, I think, one of the major differences between this and, say, your Nomad one. And that's one of the kind of the evolutions of this as a slot. You see a lot of tournaments like to put a more techie styled map in your Hard Rock 1, rather your Skyflame style aim map, which is what you really used to see back in like 2020 and 21. And the thing with 2022 going forward, and now in 2023, is people like to put these kind of tech-styled aim maps in your Hard Rock 1, which is a trend we continue a lot throughout this tournament.
Yeah, we did ask, our request to Mimi for this map is essentially, make Skystar's Chrono Diver, but make it shorter this time. Yeah, just 3 minutes. Pure Scary is sort of Skystar Chrono Diver on Hard Rock. This pattern had to be changed a lot. We went through a lot of different ideas for that little kick slider pattern. Finally landed on something we were comfortable with the back and forth aim.
Yeah, the thing the test players said about that pattern is it used to kind of be a cross screen, so people saw it in the lobby and said, oh my god, it's that a big black pattern.
Yeah, it was literally a cross screen with like the curved sliders. The intention was that you would circle it, but basically everyone tried to snap aim it, so it had to be changed to actually fit what players tried to do.
Otherwise, I think this map is pretty balanced all the way through. At 210 BPM, there isn't really too much of a diff spike to this map. Definitely
It's
just...
worth mentioning, this slider tick rate too.
That is true. That is something that a lot of our test players didn't really love, but something that Mimi wouldn't budge on, but not her fault.
Yeah, the way that the sliders are patterned, they are designed around tick rate too, so that players are actually forced to aim certain sliders in certain ways, where you see a lot of other mappers, in the texture will map those kinds of shapes anyways, and then players will just completely disregard how they're actually mapped and not aim them at all. Tick rate 2 kind of forces that out of a player.
Yeah, so you can't really cheese this like, say, your Nomad 4 sliders. You have to actually aim the sliders, and that is... I didn't agree with her not changing this from tick rate 2 at the start, and then she said that, and I was like, wait, that is so true. Like, why don't people follow sliders? So, on this map, you kind of have to follow a lot of these sliders, which might end up being a gimmick for players who tend to tease sliders, but hopefully not for some of these players. Wrong map. Same map or wrong map?
Of course.
And we've got Tsukiyomi ni Naru, another captain map, up at 7.02 circle size. This is going to be our precision pick. We had to do a little bit of shuffling around. We didn't initially plan on having 2 captain maps in a row for the precision aim pick, but it ended up being that way after our initial round of 16 Hard Rock 2 was a little bit too difficult for this slot. And the one in quarterfinals was a little bit too easy, so we were just like, okay, we're going to get this switcheroo going, and we got this map here. This is a slapper, honestly.
Yeah, gotta love the Furikuda's Hard Rock. I feel like kind of become a mainstay in the past year, just seeing Furikuda's here. Though not really in precision that often, so great to see.
Yeah, a lot of people would put maps like the Fake in the Hard Rock 1. That map, it's not Tsukiyomi ni Naru. Fairy Quiddus.
Yeah. Now, it is worth noting, I do not believe this is CX 6.5, or a little past where that's useful. Yeah, 7.02, CS 7. A little more testing on the precision than you'd expect from the CS 6.5. We've reached a point where players are starting to really actually comfortably aim at 6.5, so we gotta go just a little bit smaller than that.
Yeah, I'll say the adjustment to a CS7 from 6.5 is going a lot smoother than the adjustment from AR8 to 7.5.
For sure.
That's not what we're going to talk about here. This map, it's pretty similar in style to the one from Qualifiers, except this one has, I think, a little bit less pattern aim and is also much lower BPM. So I think it's probably going to be a little bit more comfy for a lot of these players. Because it is also, I think, larger in the circle size than the Qualifiers one. I think that one was 7.15, this one 7.02. It's a very minuscule difference, but it should still make a difference for some person. Like what would be a pixel miss on 7.15 might not be a pixel miss on 7.02.
Yeah, therefore, CS7 is actually the biggest circle size in the game. It's the easiest circles to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so real.
And this one's also shorter, so I don't know if you two consistent. Okay, this is one of the spicier maps in the pool. We have Hard Rock 3. We've got Christmas Devil, song by Schizoid Lloyd, custom map by Mun. This is another map that we actually switched up from quarterfinals. We did a little switcheroo of both HR2 and HR3. We're gonna go over these here. Now, you might have wondered what the lack of conventional maps was about, and then this map was born, except this map is conventional in the least conventional way. This is a stream map that is down at 172 BPM that also has some full screen jumps as well, something like this map. Also these cut streams that are just absolutely brutal. Yeah, this map is...
This one was just surprised. Being on the application form for Corsace Closed, a lot of us thought it might have been a joke, but actually contacting Mun, he said, yeah, you know what, I want the map for this tournament. Sort of come back from really not mapping anything. And Mun, you know, creating a real banger for us, honestly. Very happy with how this Hard Rock 3 turned out.
Yeah, the way I like to describe this map is playing this map is like shotgunning a beer. I will not explain.
I'll just believe you. You know what? Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, another Lucrece replay did this as well as the HR2 and the HR1. Forgot to thank him for that. I mentioned he just did so many replays. And here's where the aim really spikes up. Yeah, this is when I said this map is a little conventional in the least conventional ways. It's just like that. I actually don't know exactly how I would explain it, but definitely this map could be a more of a risky pick later on into a match. I feel like no one is going to really want to first pick this map, but later on into matches when you start to run out of picks, someone is going to look at this and be like, yes, this is what I think.
Yeah, this is the Hard Rock comfort check. This is where we'll see maybe players like Karcher performing the best, where it really is just like the Hard Rock players map within this pool.
One where your comfort HR players are going to have your best time. I feel like your flex HR players, like say HR is your number 2 mod, not really going to have the best time on this map, but definitely a Karcher map is what I'm thinking. Yeah, this map has a few phases as well. You can see right now you have these constantly wide spaced jumps in this portion of the map, while in the beginning you had all those cut streams. If you can really combo through one of those sections, you should be able to get a high score. Now onto the DT pool! Corsace, you should understand, we have an Adapir custom.
Yeah, Adapir, one of the up-and-coming Korean mappers here. Asked him to make a DT1, absolutely delivered here. AR 10.3, your pretty classic DT1, pretty standard aim. No big surprises here. It's a very, very solid stuff from Adapir on this map.
Definitely a little bit less conventional compared to your typical DT1. But I think Adapir has kind of coined this style of aim if you've seen some of his other maps. Like, if I'm comparing this to something like his Lower Star Diff collab of Toko Hana, I feel like this could just be compared as a much higher star rating version of that map.
Yeah, there is a bit of tapping strain that you see right here. There is quite a bit of triples, and when they get combined with the kick sliders, it can be a little scary, but I imagine the aim players still have a pretty good time on this. This doesn't go like too crazy the way of just being a speed map.
It is going to be 10.3 though. Going to be starting out as 10.3 for our baseline of DT1. It will probably get higher throughout the tournament.
Yeah, crazy now that 10.3 is just the baseline to start from. Used to not be able to pull anything higher than 10.3. People would lose their minds, but Corsace Closed, with how hard these pools are, we get a chance to experiment a little bit. The 10.3 is sort of the mercy AR.
Yeah, but, you know, monitor refresh rates have gotten higher, and so has player skill on the DT mod, so people are going to be very comfortable on 10.3 these days.
That, and even if they can't really read it, people have figured out Gamma by this point. That's too much in this map left though. Just under 3 minutes. One of the shorter aim picks within this pool here. Actually, I believe the last aim pick at that.
Yeah, not too much aim left. You've got 2 more double time maps, neither of which are really going to be aim focused, so that'll be it for our aim maps in the pool. Lucrece getting a near FC on that, 934k. Pretty good score from him. Now we've got a different Romanian on screen now. We have Nanoya as our custom mapper for our DT2 Emerald Alice. And another Romanian doing the replay. We've got Eternum getting this FC replay here. This is our DT stamina pick.
Won the Romanian inside job, it feels like.
It really is.
Everybody was in on this one.
Home cooking.
Yeah, this one, I will admit, we did initially try and put Nadia on a no mod 1, but he asked, said, hey, maybe I'll be better in the DT pool, and I'm starting to agree with how good this DT2 turned out here. Emerald Alice, very good first Corsace custom from Nadia.
Yeah, and this map is probably, in all honesty, the most conventional in the pool compared to what the slot expectations are, where you just have all of these bursts that last the entire map that just go all the way through. Smoking Nanoya.
I feel like there was supposed to be something else, but just not getting enough time to do it.
He'll finish that in the next break if there is one, I think.
So true. I do believe this is an FC replay. Million score, no 50s, no misses.
This is an FC from Eternum on this. Obviously such a strong DT player, we had to get him to do this map.
Of course. And on Nadia custom, no less.
But yeah, we had this pattern here with some of those expanding hat patterns with some variable spacing. Had to be a little bit careful for that, but I think it flows very nicely, so shouldn't trip up any of the players too badly, but definitely still missable if you aren't ready for it.
Now this map, just about as long as the DT1, 2 minutes 43 seconds. This is definitely going to be the speed player's favorite pick, right? This is essentially all speed.
All speed and stamina the whole way through. Definitely contrasts well with our DT2, or with our Nomad 2, which is much more of an aim map. This one more of a speed and stamina map. Now onto the DT3. Got Masquerade, we've got an Oko custom.
Now, DT3 is going to be taking up the kind of idea that DT4 usually takes up in expanded DT pools. This one is going to be AR 10.3 alt. This is going to be quite a bit of a comfort check on the double time modification here.
Definitely being AR 10.3, being an alt pick, it's definitely one where, your alt players who are typically more no-mod focused aren't really going to be as comfortable on the 10.3. But I think definitely a DT player's map in the same sense that your Hard Rock 3 is a Hard Rock player's map, where the people who are really comfortable on the DT mod are probably going to do extremely well on this map.
Yeah, this one, by the way, Okoratu, while just waiting to upload the map, made a full spread. He's ready to rank this today. This guy was crazy. He was talking about when the showcase time is, just so that he could rank this map. It was kind of crazy just watching the Corsace channel, oh hey, when's the time I wanna talk about BNs, I wanna contact them. Sorry, you're what?
BNs, you're ranking this already.
Yeah, looking to qualify in the next 24 hours, I believe, because Oko is just like that, I guess. By the way, this one he made an extra diff at the complete wrong difficulty. That was the original version he sent us. And he just said, yeah, this is probably too hard. Here's how we can nerf it. And he just said, no, watch this, and just made a brand new insane diff. Kept the extra diff the same, and this insane diff is what we ended up choosing to use here. This one just as long as the other DT picks as well. Once again, in the 2 minutes 40 seconds range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this map is very consistent. I don't think there's any specific pattern where you really single out as one where you're going to be expecting a lot of breaks, but there's a lot of patterns where you can just break. If you know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
consistently difficult all the way through. All right, now on to tiebreaker. Another map you guys are all probably very familiar with. Got gendarmes.
What a classic Jonathan LFJ tiebreaker map. I think everybody and their mother knows this map by now, and it's the first tiebreaker.
We have a crazy tiebreaker. I'm pretty sure a lot of you remember this from OWC 2019 when it was the grand finals tiebreaker. That's where it first showed up. And I remember there was a very intense match on this between South Korea and the United Kingdom where Bubble Man had a performance of a lifetime, and then South Korea in this, Flying Tuna in the second half of the map had a performance of a lifetime, and South Korea ended up taking it in like the last few seconds of the map, and it was one of the most memorable OWC matches for a really long time.
For sure. It's kind of crazy to see this as the early round tiebreaker, the first one of many in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So there are going to be 5 tiebreakers throughout this, and this is the first of the 5. How hard do they get?
Yeah, well, you know, the grand finals pool is kind of like, you know, almost 9 stars, so it's like, you have to start somewhere, and we decided to start with this just to push it on home how hard this map pool is going to get later on.
Yeah, I think they actually only have 2 custom tiebreakers, which means they're actually outweighed by 3 non-custom. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, not super typical for Corsace, but still, I think a lot of these maps are very high quality.
For sure. Gendarme, I don't imagine many people having many complaints about this one. This is an absolute classic by every sense of the word.
Yeah,
shout out to Blue Freeze for a 1 miss replay.
Yeah, 1 miss on this is kind of absurd, actually. Even though he did get 500k, so he probably did splatter break somewhere else, but still, this map is very difficult.
Where was Blue Freeze during OWC 2019, really?
I mean, true. I mean, Romania might have just beaten the United Kingdom and South Korea if he was there back then. Yeah, this map, I think, has a few distinct sections as well where you have a lot of the difficult aim present in the beginning, and then during this little solo section coming up here is where it starts to become very, very streamy. Right now you see these bursts, and then you have one stream that kind of overlaps onto itself. That's going to be very difficult, I think. That's where you're going to see a lot of breaks on this map. Not this one, but I think it's a stream after this. Yeah, right here. This stream is unbelievably chain missable, even though it looks deceptively easy, I feel. At least I feel like I saw this map for the first time. I thought that stream didn't look too hard. I just like aim between it. But then if you miss-aim any of those patterns, you end up note locking on the note below it because it overlaps on itself.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was my exact thought. I was like, what's this guy talking about? This looks like the easiest stream ever.
Legit. But you know, if you're nervous in a 1v1 of this caliber, you might end up finding a break there. And then the map starts to pivot back into being more of an aim map. I can tell you the exact note that Bubble Man missed on.
That's actually crazy. I could never.
2 there, I think. Or it was one of those like, there's one of those alternating like ones that went from the bottom to the top. And missed the middle note there. And then
yeah, there are some specific patterns I remember players missing on, especially in more recent tournaments, but I mean, OWC 2019, I don't think I could tell you a pattern that anybody missed on that entire tournament.
Yeah, that's just one of those, like, weird things that I just know. And then here we actually have a triangle stream coming up, one of the most difficult portions of the map right here. This stream is also extremely missable, and if you miss that and you end up no-blocking it, you're going to be losing a lot of score. So definitely
that was a slider break from Lucrece right there, I believe.
Yeah, also, one thing I'd like to say is an underrated feature of this tiebreaker is just the song factor. When you have a song this intense as your tiebreaker, your adrenaline just starts pumping.
Oh, it's the Falcons down team buff, dude. I mean, we've had
Literally.
a grand final tiebreaker before, being Falcons down team for Corsace Closed. Or no, sorry, that was Noah. My bad. I just lied.
Me when I spread misinformation over the internet.
Perfect. I love this information. It is so funny.
Okay, now I guess that is going to be it for this pool showcase. Players, check out the website or the spreadsheet for your schedules. They are already there and they are ready for you. You can start rescheduling whenever if you need to. I don't remember exactly what the restrictions on rescheduling are. We're going to try to stream as many matches as possible. So I guess in the meantime, thank you all for watching this showcase. I've been Miles, joined by Takani, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day or night wherever you are.
See you all this weekend.